Get the party started.
It's absolutely wonderful to get the party started with this group of people. So very, very excited to be presenting on behalf of the Chamber, enabling the digitization of freight. The purpose of the Chamber is to create a safe space and to let us share our pains, frustrations, and the value adds and the good things. And our role is raising awareness, facilitating adoption, and inspiring advocacy. And that's for commerce, consumers, and people building careers in and around blockchain. So if you're one of those people, we're super glad to have you with us today, and we'd love to have you join the Chamber. It's something that we're just building community and building great tech together. And to get started with our agenda, we've kind of chatted with Jim a little bit already, and he's going to be co-hosting with me today. And Jim, if you could go ahead and introduce our guests from NASDAQ and then IBM, that would be fantastic.
Well, I am honored to do so. We have two fantastic guests that are going to really lead the discussion today. We have Hanne Johansson with NASDAQ and Kurt Wedgewood from IBM, both with us now. Should we go ahead and get them to give a brief bio and introduction?
Hanne Johansson here. I work with NASDAQ and work in the market technology division. For most people, NASDAQ is probably more known for being the exchange, the stock exchange in New York. But well, I work for the market technology division, and we develop and deliver the market infrastructure technology to more than 120 exchanges and infrastructure, financial infrastructure companies around the globe.
So there's 120 NASDAQs? I mean, you guys have your platform. It's not just NASDAQ, the stock market thing?
Yeah, well, we deliver the technology to, so it is all over the world. It's NASDAQ technology. But I work actually in what we call new markets, and it's not. Maybe we should I do my introduction? Or, yeah, my talk.
Why don't we go right to your slide?
Yeah, right to the slide. So I work in what we call new markets, and it's not new markets obviously, but it's new markets to us, and it's the markets where we see that our technology coming from the capital markets could be of use. It could the industries there could really benefit from our technology. So and as you see there on the slide, shipping and logistics has been identified as one of those industries, and that's where I work. We are also looking at real estate, we're looking at healthcare, and we have sports betting. We provide technology for that as well. So we're looking at a wide range of industries where we see that our marketplace technology is could really benefit. And what the benefits would be greater visibility. You will have more transparency, predictability. And what a marketplace really is, it is a place where a buyer meets this other, and you create a fair and transparent market and price discovery. So you create a level playing field, and what we see in the shipping and logistics space, it is a lot of booking platforms out there. Many of them are what we call the one-sided marketplaces. It's normally solutions where they are focusing one side. So you have those where the supply side, for instance, where the shippers, they are quoted a price and they have to act on it, and you get booked. But when you bring in the other side as well, you will get a two-sided marketplace, and you will have shippers that could bid on a service instead of just clicking on a quote from a shipper. So we have, and of course the shipping logistics, it is a complex market. It is it's a very There's lots of different processes that has to be done during a transaction. And we have many different matching engines, and we have many different solutions according to the complexity of the product. So we have developed something that we call, and we think is very suitable for shipping and logistics, and we call it the NASDAQ trade workflow. It is fully integrated with blockchain, so it's an end-to-end solution for the whole transaction, the whole from you create the contract that you will trade, to the actual trading, and also what happens afterwards. So all the post-trade, the payment, and you deliver the goods and you're supposed to get paid or pay. So it covers the whole life cycle there. And the idea is for this to replace the current trading over the phone, and create a proper marketplace structure where both sides of the market is represented. And it is turning the manual and complex trading, and including negotiations. You can have renegotiations. You can define a lot of different parameters that you want to have in the contract, and you can do that as well in the solution. So it is really a workflow system or trading system, and it has a solution for everything that happens afterwards. And the beauty is that it's all stored on this blockchain, so you have the evidence, you have the proof of what has been done by whom, and when all the different aspects of a contract has been fulfilled, then payment is supposed to happen, and that can happen at the same time as everything has been completed according to the contract. So that we reduce the need for reconciliation a lot. It's a lot of these manual processes. It takes time and it costs money, and it's not very efficient. So our goal is to create an efficient marketplace for a wide range of products. It can be anything, basically. Yeah, I think I'll stop there.
Kurt, would you like to tell us what you're working on now?
Jim, thanks. And thanks, one, to everybody that's tuning in live right now, and those that will see this on replay. I have to kind of go back to the charter here for the blockchain commerce team, with awareness, adoption, and advocacy, how that resonates with what I've done every day for the past 4 years within blockchain. And I'd like to add one more, and maybe it spins a little bit off of adoption, Linda, is application. So that adoption, yes, we get it, we're going to do it now, and let's really apply it to our business. And that's what I want to hit here as we think about the digitization of freight. Let's go ahead. The opportunity with blockchain, really, as Hanne just commented, you're looking at efficiencies, you're looking at workflows. But what we're really talking about here is the movement of goods, as Michael talked about earlier. But let's marry that. Let's go back to that. No, we don't need to go literally to that slide. But going back to the visualization of the Harvard picture, you can see the assets being moved, but also think about all the data and all the value or all the money that's being transacted. Hanne just commented on the opportunities to be more efficient and to reconcile faster. We're working with a technology that's only 11 years old and was really applied to business within the past 7 years. So the opportunities here are very much in front of us. When you combine blockchain with AI, with IoT, in the future with quantum, we're going to see that we're not only still continuing to apply in finance, but we've moved to supply chain, real estate, as you talked about, Hanne, healthcare, and we're doing this quickly. In fact, there's a rapid solution that is helping marry PPE, COVID personal protection and equipment from manufacturer to supplier. And you can join that. This was a network that was established, designed, and rolled out in 3 weeks. And that was the pressure that's needed to trust that we can get the right masks, the right equipment to the right resource. So we're moving fast. So really think about the goods, the value, and the data. Go ahead and advance a slide there, David, if you wouldn't mind.
Trying.
The next piece here is when you are thinking about blockchain, you're number one. We have over 600 networks that we've been working on. 100 are live and flourishing. But each one of them started with what's in it for me. And here, whether it's the revenue side, an increasing rev, whether it's decreasing costs or decreasing risks, really think about what tree and branch you're going to answer your why. Freight has a lot of opportunity in here, especially with the digitization of the freight marketplace. You can realize all three of these. You want to answer for yourself, but you also want to say, what's the incentive for the rest of the network? Because we're moving to a place of co-opetition where together as a network, we can all realize lift, more effective, more efficient, and benefit. Right now, all the tides are rising. Your action today will increase the opportunity for you for returns. Let's go ahead, David. If we complement that, think about this list here. You have from planning all the way through distribution and retail. There are many networks that IBM's been involved with. TradeLens has been one where we are tracking freight and containers over the ocean journey. That's a piece of the supply chain. Now, when you land and you're on landed and you're looking at the rail and you're looking at trucking, how are you contracting? How are you establishing a marketplace? Right? These are opportunities to expand. We have now identified an environment for trusting your supplier. How do you see all the suppliers that are available to me? Almost a yellow pages, if I can still use the term yellow pages. I don't know who receives any of those hard books anymore. But a yellow pages of all the suppliers where they are self-sovereign and maintain their own identity and make sure that it's easy to pay, easy to identify, easy to work with. Move all the way out. You have food trust where we are tracing from farm out to fork where your food is coming from. What does that do? That's helping a consumer trust that their food is organic, that is grown in the way that they value. And sometimes, frankly, that's just price. So you may not have a lot of great transparency when they are just, you may not need that great transparency for price. However, there are other times that you do want a differentiated experience. So how can you use that food trust experience for value to a consumer? And also go all the way out and think about the reverse. What are you doing with food waste? How are you bringing food waste back? All of that in the center then is transportation and trucking. There's a lot of opportunities still ahead with this. The technologies are going to continue to evolve. Finally, as you're probably sitting there, you're like, okay, there are a lot of networks that are up there. It's live, it's active. Do I join one or do I build? And you're in a great spot right now where you really need to go back to the business case, define your business case, and think about how you want to participate. I often use the analogy here of homeowners association. And a lot of groups may live in a homeowner-based network, and you may or may not sit on a board. You may just actually subscribe and write your HOA check and put it away. But you also may want to be very engaged and be part of the governance body and directing where the network goes. So that may be an opportunity you have in join, but also there may be build. When I talked about the differentiation, you may want to just build your own network for your own group. And then odds are over time, and Linda talked about this, interoperability between networks, right? You may want to attach to a payment system. You may want to attach to a reconciliation system. what's going to be core to you is what you're going to do with your data. And in the end, it is all about your data and your insight. So thanks for the early discussion. I look forward to the dialogue here in a few minutes.
So we really got this two different types of markets that happen when you can't get to your core carrier. You've got your typical broker scenario where I can't move it, my core carrier said no, and now I need to be able to get it over to a broker. And about 95% of the brokered transactions are done through a traditional broker environment where they're required to be able to collect as much information so that they can provide feedback to the shipper so that they can know if there's any exceptions. They can gain visibility from those human touch points. But in the digital freight matching side, because of the fact that the information is gathered more streamlined, there's not a need for such oversight by every person. And every person can work off of exception management because they're getting data more quickly to the event happening, and they're getting a full picture of what the data is so that they can make an informed decision. It really leads into, the math of today there's currently some 225 digital freight matching companies. And if we were looking to be able to create interoperability between them under an existing one-to-one scenario, by the math that Bruce was talking about, it would be 225 times 224 divided by 2, which I believe brings you to 25,500 unique interfaces that would need to be created and managed on an ongoing basis for this industry to be able to have interoperability, unless there's a utility, an industry participant that steps in who doesn't have an interest in being able to take any business from anybody that's here, but only that's interested in helping these companies remove friction so that they can provide better services to their client base. And that's where we see DFM Data Corp fitting in, is that there are lots of horses that have left the barn, and they're running around the pasture at the moment and getting as much capacity and as much loads as they can in their marketplace. But in doing so, they're encouraging more shippers to join numerous platforms. And when a shipper puts their loads into numerous platforms, we create this thing that's called phantom capacity and phantom loads.
Yeah, so it's, I love that math. I love realizing that without a central utility, you're talking about this massive undertaking. And what we're going to walk you through in this use case shows the extreme simplicity that's the alternative to that. It's really exciting.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting what you do, because I think there's really, you will contribute with a lot to the market. Today, there's no, there's, as you said, there's about 250 different electronic matching platforms. And to get that full overview, or the total, what is the total market here? Do I see just a small part of the market, or do I see a large share of the market if I join this DFM? I think it's really valuable to have this central unit as you will then be the marketplace of the marketplaces, or at least combining all these volumes in order for the participants out there to see how large this market really is. Do I get the best prices, and to get better visibility and see the price discovery.
Do you see all the things that you would expect to see in a natural marketplace in this use case? Is there anything that's missing from it? I mean, we haven't gone into settlement, but I think settlement has a role in what you guys are working on, and we actually don't cover that in our demo today that we've prepared for you. But I know NASDAQ, as part of their solution, is got some tools that are involved in being able to do the conclusion of transactions as well, and even including some exception reporting, right, where the final settlement price isn't necessarily what it was at the beginning, and that's an important element for this use case.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think payment, just looking at the number of people involved in a payment, you have to reconcile the invoice with the original contract. So I think that brings a huge value as well, to bringing that into the equation. And you could also have risk mechanisms in place. So if you trade in a marketplace, you can have these, if you have money on the account, you can put a deposit post deposits, so you could trade for whatever money you have on your account to make it's yeah, counterparty risk issue is a big problem out there. But having this instant settlement, it's saving money and time.
Yeah, you could even imagine in some cases, Hanne, where a driver was dispatched to be able to go pick something up. A carrier has got the company and the authority for him to be able to operate under, but they don't want to be out of pocket for the fuel costs of being able to deploy the truck. So you could have the $1,200 for the total shipment in an escrow account, have $300 allocated for pickup for him to be able to fuel his truck, $150 allocated for the 2 nights of hotel that he needs to be able to get, and you know, nobody's out of pocket. It's just that we've micro paid the transactions, but that can only happen if you've got the data of the events taking place during the transit time. And current communications that take place, the current standards of communication like EDI, they'll identify status updates, but the detail of what's inside of it and the formatting of those files is not standardized. And because of that, it's difficult for the companies to be able to interoperate with it. Thanks for your input, Hanne. Kurt, you want to add something? Oh, so I'm sorry. Go ahead, Hanne.
No, just one other thing you can add into it, and that's the clearing part, or the clearing element. And clearing is all about netting. So you could have all these payments netted, contracts netted. So you take the exposure down on both, yeah, on your capital.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kurt. You want to jump in here?
Yeah, I mean, first things first, I want to give an acknowledgement. IBM's just very honored to have you as part of the digital mentorship program as well. So I think that this connection goes even deeper. What I've appreciated here is thinking about the buyer values. The buyer values that, working with the Arbinger Institute years ago, buyers want something fast, right, cheap, frankly, and easy. And you're providing, right, that timeliness of information. You're making it operate faster. It is the right. We know it's the right information. It's auditable. It's consensus driven. It is based on smart contracts. So I think you've nailed the right. Cheap, meaning, and that is the Arbinger group is over in the UK. So a little translation into the US market, cheap could almost be, you know, more value or less expensive. I think what you're doing is you can take costs out, as Hanne had just pointed out. You're able to take some costs out and you're making it easy. So that's what I really like. The opportunity that I'm looking for, especially in the scenario where you just described gas, a hotel night, is there overhead in reporting and being so transparent? And if so, is that juice, that extra work, worth the squeeze? So is there really that return? So that's where you get to play with what is the benefit to all the participants by providing this and making it more fast, right, cheap, and easy. So I'm liking it. It's what the market's been asking for, and a number of companies have been trying to incrementally get there without taking advantage of new technology.
Well, thanks very much. I appreciate the commentary on that. I'm going to turn it back over here. I think Philip's slides are up next to be able to go into right after we cover the phantom data piece. And both Hanne and Kurt both talked about the data side and the phantom piece and cleansing of this. There's a term that Hanne mentioned, which is a clearinghouse. And it's one of the things that we've envisioned ourselves serving in, is that capacity of being able to identify when a consummation of a load takes place in one marketplace, that we can cleanse that available load that is falsely posted in other marketplaces that are connected to this utility. So our objective with the addressing of the phantom data piece is to recognize that the digital freight matching companies are really the only ones that are collecting the data in a digitized form at consummation. And because of the fact they have the consummation of the deal, we can use that consummation to be able to cleanse the phantom demand that's pent up in the other systems when there is a true capacity that has been allocated to move a shipment. So in our marketplace, we have the ability to be able to work with the digital freight matching providers to be able to enable their platforms to remove this friction.
Michael, I want to add that the nature of this phantom data is a cultural thing. There's even a colloquial term for it out there called post and pray. So the idea being that you have shippers or carriers, a lot of these trucking companies are it's just a guy with a truck, or they have, a little trucking firm, and they have 3 to 10 trucks, and they have signed up for these various DFMs. And so they're thinking, I have to get this truck loaded fast as possible, and I need to find the nearest possible load. I don't want to drive any further than I have to get that load. So they post that capacity on as many of those networks that will let them, many of those places that will let them. So what this phantom data actually is when somebody does in fact give them that load, now all those other marketplaces still show that they have availability. So
they have no incentive to go back and take it off of the other ones because they're already driving.
None.
That's right.
None. They're already leaving. They got their truck loaded. They're good to go. But they don't realize the collateral damage.
They couldn't do it if they wanted to clear it out of there.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And they couldn't clear it if they wanted to. There's no mechanism in place. They can't go back through their app on all these other 9 things. They're actually now driving to the next location to pick up that load. So it's a big idea, but the data shows that some of these networks on any given day may show up to 60% of what they think is real capacity is in fact this phantom capacity, and it really is slowing them down and causing them to miss the potential of truly automated matches the majority of the time that don't require this human intervention. But without that, the phantom data causes more intervention than is required, given that you actually have all this data. So our use case is actually focused on the clearing out of this phantom data as just such a fundamental step in interoperability for digital freight matching service providers.
As well as changing the incentive too, because it's two-sided kind of, because the phantom data is there because there's no incentive for truck drivers not to. And so the other side is making it so that these drivers don't have to post in more than one place.
That's right.
It's one touch trust instead of post and pray. I love it.
Because the standards pieces are really important here. And in the previous discussions, we've been really fortunate to have John Greaves on the line to be able to talk about the standards bodies that are capable of being able to implement and enforce or to provide guidance around how interoperability should take place. We had Patrick Duffy from BETA that was on board to be able to help demonstrate their focus towards an electronic bill of lading, which, by the way, is very similar to the same exact things as we're talking about. So we're very anxious to be able to see what their standards are, because the way that we've constructed our platform, we have opportunity to be able to comply and to enable that compliance of that central IMP sort of blockchain entry point.
So we talked about standards, and these numbers that you see here basically identify the steps in the shipment process for all shipments, and that applies to all DFMs, of course, as well. And so this is pulled straight out of Michael's patent and identifies each one of the steps. So starting at the top, the shipper wants to ship a load. It goes to the green box, which is number 20, this load tender. Generally, it would go to the right if things are going well, but sometimes if it's missing information, it would hop back a step and then get fixed and then go back to the right. So we move to 30, it's pre-booked, and then 40, it's booked. So pre-booked, you're fairly certain that your local platform has the capacity to fulfill the load. So you say that you're ready to take it. And then 40 is you've actually matched it with a trucking driver. 50 en route is it is left. En route arrived. Number 60 is it's at the destination. 70, it is delivered. That's when the shipment is actually delivered. And then 80 is invoicing. So there's a lot of steps that happen in between here. And we've got some really granular steps that we left out because we wouldn't want to bore you with all of the gory details quite yet. But it really captures the entire process very, very well and makes it easy to kind of visualize how it works and where it can go. Where it can go good and where it can go bad. And we talked earlier about the spots where a shipment can go bad, and you want to consider how those can happen and how they should be handled. Because the more we understand those, the better we can do at automating the process and removing the unneeded human touch from a lot of these A lot of these choices where it's not added value, it just takes up more time. So that kind of leads us into the next slide.
And but I just want to add one thing, so when Michael was just talking about standards, you had very briefly touched on the idea that these codes, these 2040 codes come out of the patent. And one of the things that DFM Data Corp is sort of like holding in the palm of our hands is the potential that the patent can be that template for how to create that common language for what do you call all these moments in the transaction. All these different DFMs, they have different codes for these things. They have different data tags for these things. And so to come up with the common language for how do you say what each of these steps are, there's a potential to leverage the patent system.
Exactly. The patent makes a fantastic reference. And so that takes us to the next slide, right? So we talked about a utility that kind of takes all of the different, the DFM's different data, because there's not really a standard yet, and converts that to a standardized format, whatever that is. So if you, to start from the left to the right on this diagram, on the left side, you have, let's skip over third party for a moment.
I can give you the remote control, Philip, and then you can use your.
Great.
There you go.
Okay, you see my mouse?
Yeah.
Yep.
Wonderful. So, okay, over here we got the shipper, carrier, driver, truck, and the receiver. So I guess a good way to illustrate this is I'll walk through the process of purging phantom data and how that might work on this platform. So a shipper decides that they want to ship a load. They want to make sure that it gets picked up, so they push it to 2 or more DFMs. That load is sitting on one of the DFMs and it gets picked up, they match it with capacity. The other DFM, however, still has that load posted and doesn't know that it's already on its way. And so it'd be a huge waste of their time to go after trying to match it and handle that for them. But what if we had, an added small utility here that was run by the DFM. This is called the DPS shipper. It's a data processor and shipper. It's a very small little utility which the DFM pushes their data to, and it standardizes the data and does 2 things. It pushes data out to the blockchain node, which the DFM also runs, and to a data ingestion service. The important part here to note is that once that data gets pushed to the blockchain node, DFM3 down here, once they got that load to ship from the shipper, would have subscribed to events about that load, because they want to know if someone else picks up that load before they match it. And so as soon as that load gets matched on DFM1, that message goes out and they get a notification sent to them from the blockchain. You can see how they're connecting to another node. This is just to illustrate that every DFM doesn't have to run their own blockchain node. It's good if they want to, but they don't have to. It can be a community of nodes run by anybody, which that's where the third party comes in to illustrate that the blockchain chamber of commerce, for example, could run a node to help make a balanced ecosystem.
Hint, nudge, nudge.
Exactly. And so another important piece to note is the anonymity of the data, which is the exact reason that we put the DPS shipper piece within the DFM's control. This piece of software is going to be open source so that it can be audited, and it will be run and controlled by the DFM so that they own the data, they own the application to run, to make sure that they know what's happening to the data. And so the data, once it leaves here, it's, to get a little bit more technical, it's hashed. It's basically run through a process that makes it so that no one has any idea what the data is unless they already know what that is. So the only other person that would know what load is being, a notification is being sent out about would be DFM3, because they can run that same process, that one-way process on the data and say, oh, yep, it matches what this notification came out to be. And I have that, I need to pull it from my system. So they see that notification and they immediately remove it from the system, saving them all the time and hassle. The other piece that we mentioned is what if a shipper posts a load to a DFM, but that DFM doesn't have the capacity to ship it. What we want to do is change that model to where the incentive is not to push their load to multiple DFMs, to know that they can only push it to one and know that it's going to be taken care of. So the way that could work in a system like this is that The DFM1 has a load that's posted to it. They're not able to handle the load. So what they do is they reach out to, they post a message to the data shipper, which instructs the blockchain node to notify everybody on the blockchain network that there's a load that needs to be moved. And it gives just enough data to know if another DFM could handle the load and provide the capacity to ship it. It doesn't give any personal or identifying information about the parties or anything beyond what's absolutely needed. That gives the ability for DFM3 to now say, oh, I have some extra trucks that we're not using right now. Let me accept this load. And so I can, DFM3 kind of lends a helping hand to DFM1 so that they kind of keep the stickiness of their customer. So the shipper now doesn't have to go to more than one DFM. They can just go to the one and know that their load will get picked up. They've already pre-selected the option to say, I am open to having my load picked up by other DFMs if capacity is not available on your platform. And it just makes their life easier. And that's the incentive I think that we need to remove, remove the phantom data problem in the first place. And so now the two get matched, and you'll see more detail in the demo in a moment, but the two get matched and notifications get filtered back through DFM1 to their shipper. So the shipper is happy, their load got moved, and they don't really have to worry about much else. These blockchain nodes, and big shout out to IBM and the Hyperledger team, they have done an awesome job at helping us get set up and going and learn the ins and outs of the Hyperledger platform, which is fantastic. And one really, really easy way to set up these blockchain nodes is to run it within IBM Cloud. And so it's a great place to be able to do that really, really easily. To give a little light into what's over here on the right side, so data gets fed into a data ingest service, which basically enables reporting, indexing, performance data, predictive analysis, and can even enable visualization data, similar to what NASDAQ does, oddly.
The functionality of the system is really done on the back end. There is a view side of this that is the visualization of the data, which is something that we intend as our DFM participants gaining that competitive advantage of seeing what the entire marketplace's information is in an anonymized state so that they can make better decisions. But our business model is really to be able to help engage with each of the digital freight matching environments where they can utilize the core principle of the digital freight matching patent, or patent 7755518. I mean, it describes what is in red on this slide, which is that there is a master data component, that there are carriers, multiple shippers, and they are exchanging their loads for available capacity. And what we're looking to do is work with everyone who is currently trying to do this, because there is a benefit of being able to work together and share and cleanse this data so that we don't have these phantom loads and phantom capacities that our broker people are chasing every single day to be able to try to solve for when they can't be solved for. And it's become just a normal state of the industry for what companies are looking to be able to deal with. And it gets frustrating when you've been chasing a load all day and then all of a sudden it's not there anymore and you don't know about it. And all the brokers out there have all tried to do that many times, but it doesn't have to be that way. And we can do this a lot better in the digital freight matching industry and enable our supply chains to be able to work more effectively by sharing the digitization information in the transaction.
Absolutely. And I don't want you to feel rushed by the time. I appreciate the people that have stayed on the call. And if you have additional information or concepts that you'd like to communicate, I'm very comfortable taking the extra time, and we'll be sharing this recording to everyone that's registered. So even if they've had to drop off, they'll be able to hear the wrap up. So
anyway, long story short is, what we're looking to do is to be able to work with these providers. They've all been really visionary in identifying this need of organizing shippers who have common needs and carriers that have common needs and connecting those parties so that they can operate efficiently. Unfortunately, by there being so many of those marketplaces, we've demonstrated today the problems that can happen with interoperability if there's not a standard and an alignment of the parties being able to connect to. And the messaging that we're trying to display here, and really has been the focus of David's work with me on the marketing of this company, is this company is here for the purpose of being able to extend an olive branch to each of the digital freight matching companies. And let's do this better together. There's a chance for us to be able to work together, and all we got to do is be able to engage. And we've tried to make that as simple as possible by adding what I think is on the next slide here, which is a page on our website that's called Getting Started. And the Getting Started page is literally just a engagement form where digital freight matching companies that have platforms, transportation management systems, transportation execution systems, whatever they want to call themselves, if they have multiple shippers, multiple carriers, private network, public network, login, credentialized to be able to access in a platform or using a mobile device, we want to talk to you. There's a good opportunity for us to be able to increase your throughput and reduce the amount of friction that exists in your marketplace.
Wow, that was quite the invitation for the DFM ecosystem. I know there's over 200 companies that are already playing in that space, and if facilitating their collective benefit to, I think the environment is one of the big places we're going to see.
That's the winner.
Mother
Nature.
Yeah, that 30% reduction in empty loads running on our roads is a huge value add. And I'm just very, very pleased and thankful to have you as a member of the Chamber. It's been a wonderful collaborative opportunity for us to bring together, once again, experts in the field. Those types of collaborative connections are just what bring me personally joy and are part of the work of the Chamber in bringing functional tech to use. And I'm really excited to see that moving forward. And it will enhance the DFM industry growth and adoption, and having 25% by 2025. I think that number is going to be low when we get there. We'll see that this really has transformed the marketplace. And I hope, I know we have people that are watching from international locations. Although this platform is built, designed, and patented in the US, the same functional implementation can take place anywhere. Anywhere there's contiguous land masses, this facilitation can occur. And I'm sure Michael and his team will be happy to communicate with you and help bring this value add forward regardless of location. I think it's really important that, like Michael said, we support Mother Nature and help bring this type of efficiency forward. Thank you all for your attendance here today. Thank you for everyone that was on the panel. Look forward to being able to share this recording and to continue facilitating the adoption and, to Kurt's point, the implementation of blockchain technology.